I want to share with you something that I've had all this time from my time on the Sunset Strip. Now, I've talked about how I answered an ad in Music Connection and, went down there and the style of music that they were playing, which was kind of a funky, hard rock, heavy metal kind of hybrid, was perfect for the way that I played guitar. It was perfect for my influences and where I came up, and the people that I, kind of helped shape, the way that I played. And I joined this band, and my hair wasn't quite long enough, but they were like, the hair's healthy and it's gonna grow. So I got the gig. I landed the guitar slot in a band called Shock and the Night and Day Horns, and you start rehearsing, every night. You start getting together with a singer and writing songs, and they start going, hey man, you need some clothes. They start, hey, the singer threw me a pair of pants he couldn't squeeze into anymore. Here, take these pants, man. A chick bought them for me. You can have them. And I remember I had a box set of Billy Joel CDs. It was like, the complete works of Billy Joel or something. And he said, hey man, I'd like to have that Billy Joel box set. I got some cowboy boots I don't wear. Chick bought them for me. You want them? I'm like, yeah. I said, I'll trade you for the Billy Joel box set. I was like, okay, yeah. So I had these awesome, like, snakeskin, I forget what it was. It was like Viper or something, skin boots, and I had worked at the pawn shop, and I was still working there when I joined the band. And I had bought one day a motorcycle jacket had come in. Now, clothing was not something that they would normally take in at the pawn shop. But, people, would be desperate for money and say, man, I just need some gas money. I need $10 or I need this or whatever. And so somebody had come in and brought in this leather, this is a leather motorcycle jacket. Right, and it's really heavy duty. I mean, this thing has lasted since I bought it in probably 88, probably about 1988. And this thing, I had a motorcycle for a short period of time, but by the time I joined the band, I had sold the motorcycle to my roommate. This is the leather jacket I bought from the pawn shop for, I think I bought it for like $75 or something like that. But the singer for our band, he was always wheeling and dealing with somebody for tattoos or, hair products or any kind of endorsement they got. And I remember the band had a deal with BC Rich Guitars. And so there was, I think, maybe just one BC Rich guitar that had been left behind by the previous guitar player. And he said, here, man, here's this, we got to deal with BC Rich. You can have this guitar. And it was weird. It was one of those gunslinger ones with the kind of a Floyd Rose style tremolo on it. And it just sounded terrible. That guitar would not stay in tune. It sounded awful. I don't know what the deal was with it, but I kept it as a backup, and you see it, in some old pictures, it's leaning up against the amp or whatever. But man, that thing was an absolute piece of crap. Those guitars now, they remade the gunslingers, and they're putting them out, and I think they were trying to sell them for $4,000 or some crazy price like that. I was like, man, I wouldn't give you $100 for those things. But of course, they could be different now. I don't know. I have no idea. But man, it was weird. It had some kind of like Nagel graphic on it, but it was almost like it was a factory mistake because you couldn't tell exactly what the graphic was. Now, BC Rich had supplied one of the bands that Shock had opened for a bunch, had supplied them with all their guitars, and BC Rich was riding high with the band Warrant. And, my band had opened for them before I joined the band, and before they became a headliner, but now they were a headliner, and BC Rich had given them some instruments. So our bass player, he had a BC Rich bass that he played on every show, you know, at least during this time period. Before I said, dude, we gotta get you a better bass, man. We gotta get you a better bass, especially if we're gonna be playing some funky stuff, man. It's bass heavy music. But so, you know, our singer was always wheeling and dealing and striking deals, and so he had gone to some tattoo shop, you know, airbrush, you know, studio in Hollywood called Art to the Bone, and it was on Hollywood Boulevard, and he had struck a deal with them, and it might have been, he might have just pulled us down there and said, hey, if I bring, you know, my band down here to get their jackets, you know, airbrushed, you know, will you give us a discount? And the discount might have meant he got his for free. I don't know, but I think we paid maybe, I don't know if it was $40 or $70, or I don't remember exactly what we paid, but we took our jackets down there, and it was at that point in time, you know, it was, you know, what do you want on the back of your jacket? And I had a vision, like, I want my guitar. And at the time I was playing a Daphne Blue Jackson Soloist, a USA Jackson Soloist, really cool looking guitar. It was something that I had gotten at Audio Light Music in Norfolk, Virginia, thrown in the back of my truck, and drove all the way to Los Angeles with. And it was a really nice guitar. It was really the only, like, at that point in time, nice guitar that I had. I had some other guitars that needed some work, but that one was like, didn't have a lot of miles on it. So that's what I was using to play in that band. Now, so we go down to this Art to the Bone, and I had, like I said, I had an idea of what I wanted. I wanted my guitar on the back of the jacket like a spaceship flying through space, and, you know, my name, Bad Brad, on the bottom of the jacket. And you know, I remember the bass player didn't really know what he wanted, and it's like he didn't even have his like nickname or anything. You know, back in the 80s, everybody, you know, there were a lot of Lizzies and Dizzies and all this, and I didn't really get that. I'd always been called Bad Brad. I think starting with the Wooten Brothers had started calling me that Bad Brad, that's Bad Brad. So, you know, I was like, well, that's my name. I'm Bad Brad. And so, you know, Jamie, his real name was Jerry, and I think his last name was Jones. So it was like Jerry Jones, or like Jim Jones or something like that. But he changed his name to Jamie, you know, so that he thought that was a better stage name. And our bass player's name was Greg Babuccio, which is not like a great stage name. So he's like, oh, I don't know what to put on mine. I was like, well, dude, you know, let's do a brick wall, like with some like graffiti on it, you know, with the band name on it, Shock, you know, and then, you know, have your name, Greg B, you know, on the back, you know. And that was the best thing that we could come up with. And I think Jamie had like his girlfriend or something painted on the back of his, if I'm remembering correctly, and then his name under it, Jamie, you know. So it's just like this blonde, you know, on the back of his jacket, and then, you know, his name on the bottom. But you know, we went down to this Art to the Bone, and it was this, you know, tattoo studio, and in the front they had a guy with an airbrush, and he would do, you know, he would airbrush whatever you wanted. And so we all came in there with our motorcycle jackets. We all had the same style jackets. And here is the jacket. This is what we would wear on the strip. And you can see, there's my Jackson Soloist. It's on fire. And it's you know, it's traveling through space, and there's Earth with the satellite beaming a signal to it. And there's, I don't know, is that Saturn with the rings and the stars and everything? And then there's my name, Bad Brad. And so, let's see if we can still wear this. It still fits, man. It still fits, bro. I don't think I can barely maybe button it up, and now it's a little short at the bottom. But this was the jacket that we would put on and go down to the strip, and we looked like a band because we had our matching motorcycle jackets and with our names on it. And for a little period there, it was like band unity. Oh, we got our jackets on, and we're going down to the strip, and we got our it's like the sense of camaraderie and being in a band, man, can make you feel like you're the biggest rock star in the world, because you've got a gang. If you go down to the strip and somebody messes with you, man, the rest of the guys are gonna jump in. And we were all pretty scrappy guys back then. And for better or for worse, we had to stick together. And it's just it's something. It's amazing that I've still got this jacket after all these years, and the handful of flyers and photos that after, being a musician, it's a transient lifestyle. I've had to move so many times, and every time I move, I lose a few pictures and I lose a few, remnants of the past. And I tried, when I came down here to Florida, I tried to save as much as I could. And, but some things I'm sure got left behind in this move as well. And I knew I found my old phone book from back in the day. And it was the little black book that I would write all the phone numbers in. And it had all my friends' numbers in it, from back in the day, all the landline numbers of girls that I'd met on the strip, and the notes I would put, blonde, likes Van Halen, or, a brunette, girlfriend of such and such, band, or, a father works at a record label, or, anything I could do so that I would remember, because you would meet so many people and get so many phone numbers that you would put notes next to their names. So when you call them, and, we would make the calls, work the phones before gigs, and say, hey man, let's everybody work the phone tonight. Get everybody to come out Friday night to our show. Let's call them all up. And if they're not home, leave a message and all that stuff. But it's amazing what I still have from that time period. And here's the Rock City News issue that we took just a few weeks after I joined the band. And there's me in my cowboy boots, and there's Jamie in the leather jacket. Of course, you can't see the artwork because he's facing the camera, and the artwork's on the back. But it's amazing to still have this stuff and to peruse the magazine and see, look at some of these images of these bands, these hair bands back in the day. And there's the Zeros. Now I know one of the guys, FM station, was one of the clubs that everybody played back in the day, and Joe Normal from the Zeros watches this channel on occasion, and man, it's just really cool to hear from people who were back in the scene back then. And it's just amazing to still have this stuff after all these years, because look at this Celebrity Skin. I mean, whatever happened to those guys? I wonder how many of these guys are still alive. This is a band that was popular on the strip. Now look at these handsome gentlemen. This band was called Tricks. Look at that. Look at these guys. I mean, they all had the swoop with the spike. Who thought of that, right? And then, Tricks, the Troubadour. I mean, these guys were, I used to see their pictures all the time. I never once saw them play. It's just amazing to still have these artifacts of the past, like that jacket. And, the evolution that you have to do to become a Sunset Strip musician.